Molt bon día. Os doy la bienvenida en catalán, os doy la bienvenida en castellano a los que nos escucháis desde lejos. It's my pleasure to introduce you, Mr. Arlindo Silva, my colleague, my friend, and a very nice researcher and developer in industrial design. Arlindo ha accedido a concedernos una estupenda conferencia. Entonces, los que nos estáis siguiendo desde la Jaume I de Castellón, desde el País Vasco, desde Barcelona, muchísimas gracias por acompañarnos. Sabéis que podéis hacer las preguntas a través del chat de YouTube y I will be here for supporting you in anything you need. And now it's your time, Arlindo. Please, can you introduce yourself about your profile, please?
Yep.
Because I don't want to do it badly.
Thank you, Nuria. I think this is yours.
Oh, no,
I have my own.
this is for me.
Gracias a todos. And I will shift to English now. I could have shifted to Italian. I could have shifted to Portuguese, but I think English is a bit more universal. So thank you all for coming. We have people attending from other places in Spain, in Portugal as well, and in Singapore. So English is actually the good language to start. So thank you, Nuria, and thank you, the Polytechnic University of Catalonia, for this invitation. This is much appreciated. A bit of myself. Don't read all of that. Basically, I'm a mechanical engineer, and my career has shifted since forever, since more than almost 30 years ago, has been shifting from engineering to product design and development. Because there's a lot that all of the branches of engineering have to do with product design and development, but product design and development is kind of the cherry on top of the cake. So you cannot do anything without paying attention to a lot of aspects that come from industrial design, from product design, from product development. So I've done what every academic does. I write papers, I teach, I give classes. I've been teaching in Portugal for 24 years. Then I moved to Singapore. That's where I am now. And I am with the Engineering Product Development Department at the Singapore University of Technology and Design. One of the few, very few, if not the only one, that has a university that has design in the name. Typically, universities don't have design in their name. So this one has. I have a number of patents that I've produced with my students. So this is not just about talking the talk, is walking the walk as well. Okay. I've done a number of other things before. Besides teaching, I've been a senior materials education consultant at Granta Design. You probably heard of a product that they produce that is the CS EduPack for material selection. Perhaps some of you have, some of you have not. I've served in many committees, the Design Business Chamber Singapore, the Manufacturing Standards Committee, which has nothing to do with design, but it has a lot to do with engineering. Okay. I'm also the hub director of NAMIC. NAMIC is a very long name. It's the National Additive Manufacturing Innovation Cluster in Singapore that connects the research that's being done right now in 3D printing or additive manufacturing to the companies. How would they use this new technology? And basically, that's a bit about me. So this is all of the topics that I've taught and done research through time. And I am now fairly concentrated in product design and development. So that's enough about me. Let's move on. So the title of the talk is Innovation by Design, but that's very broad. So what I'll be specifically talking about is critical success factors for successful product design and development. Okay, that's a narrower kind of knowledge. So the motivation for this is very simple, because there's a lot of company sales that come from new products. Okay, not just the products that we've launched right now, but products that have been in the market. So the new products account for around 1/3 of company sales in general, okay? And product life cycles are getting shorter and shorter. So it takes less time to put a new product in the market now than it did a few years ago, okay? However, only roughly half are launched on time. When companies say they're going to launch it, they actually do it. And roughly half as well achieve their financial goals. So there's a kind of a mismatch here. So what's happening? What's going on here? So what separates the winners from the losers? Okay. Of course, I don't hold the universal truth. Of course, no one does. But there are things that we should pay attention to when we design new products, when we develop new products. And these are some of the things that we should pay attention to. And I'll give you a hint. Balance is crucial. Don't go to a lot of extremes in anything if you want to be successful in new product development. Of course, for every rule, there is an exception to the rule. But anyway, this is a bit of a hint for you. And I will be as much interactive as possible because some of you are here, but a lot of you are not here, are elsewhere. So I would like to get you to also do something during this class, not just listen to me. So I will be putting some questions to you, okay? I don't want arms raised because you can raise your arms, but the others that are in other locations cannot raise their arms. So I will give you an opportunity to actually interact with me, which is this, okay? If you want to take your mobile phones, you can either scan the QR code here or go to this website and put SUTD here and then hit join, okay? It's completely anonymous, don't worry. And it's not for grading, for a change. So when you enter into this website, you will see this question there, okay? So what I'm going to ask you to do, and I'll give you a few seconds to do it, is whether you think that question is either true or false, okay? You will see something like this. I should reduce the cost of my product to get the cheapest product in the market. Is this true or is this false? What do you think? There are 9 students admitted to, and you've put your answer. Now it's waiting for the next one. Don't worry. It's okay. It's okay. So as more and more come in, you will answer true or false, and then you get a screen waiting. Don't worry. I will move on to the next question in a few slides, okay? So we have 11 students answered. So as many come on board, it's not an issue. So let's show results and see what you think. I should reduce the cost of my product to get the cheapest product in the market. Okay. A lot of you say, no, this is false. So is this the correct answer? I mean, it is probably the most correct. It's not the absolute correct answer. And I'll give you some explanation about that, okay? So let's move on to the slides. Don't lose that web page because there's going to be other questions coming on. So let me shift back to my slides. Okay. So is this correct or not? It is mostly correct. We should not be striving just for the cheapest product in the market. Why is that? Because people don't necessarily look for the cheapest, okay? There's a difference between putting the cheapest product on the market and producing it as cheap as possible, okay? There's a difference in production, price, and cost. Okay, I'm talking about price here. Okay, so what we
There is an answer in the chat. We should reduce the cost if it is better for the user, but not because it would be cheapest in the market anymore.
exactly, that's perfectly correct. So what people are looking for is superior and differentiated products. I don't want a copy of something that's already out there. I want something that's different. I want something that features good value for money, provides excellent perceived product quality, not necessarily real product quality, okay? Perceived product quality. And that meets my needs in some way. It solves my problem, okay? If it solves my problem, I will likely buy it, even if there is a cheaper solution in the market that may or may not solve my problem, okay? So we should offer product benefits or attributes that are perceived as useful. And there's a difference between benefits and attributes. That's why I put benefits or attributes. These are different things. So if we look closer, benefits are what customers value and pay money for. Features are things that we put in our product. Not all things that we put in our products are actual benefits to the user. Okay? And I'll give you some examples. What is this? This is a weird thing, right? It has a lot of attributes. Does it have many benefits? This might not be the best example. Let me give you two more examples. Everyone knows this, okay? So this one everyone has at home. Okay, how many buttons does this thingy have? Don't count them, it's a lot, okay? How many buttons do you actually use with a thing like this? I don't know, 4 or 5? It has more than 30 buttons in it. So these are not necessarily benefits, these are attributes, okay? What about this one? Everyone knows what this is. This is a kind of a Swiss Army knife. So it has, if you could put all of the functions that a Swiss Army knife may have, if you can put all of those in one, that's how it would look like. Would you use that? Does it even fit in your pocket? No one would use that. So that's an extreme example of benefits versus attributes. This has absolutely no benefit, but it has all the attributes. Okay, so there's a difference between benefits and attributes. Go for attributes if it provides a benefit, not the other way around. Okay, let's move on. That's question number 2, and I'll push question number 2 to you right now. If you go back to that web page, you should see question number 2 appearing now. Which company knows best what products to design and market? True or false? What do you think? So if you lost the page, here's the QR code. If you have it, don't scan it again. Each company knows best what products to design and market. Is this true or is this false? What do you think? Of course, these are not direct questions, so okay, 13 of 19 students have answered. Of course, you don't have to answer if you don't want to. I will show the results right now. Each company knows best what products to design and market. Okay, a lot of you say no. Some of you say yes. What is the correct answer? It is true in some situations. It is true in some situations. My argument is that although it is true in some situations, in most of the situations, it's not enough to rely on our company's knowledge. We should go out and ask others as well. Do not just rely on your internal knowledge about the market, about the product. So let me go back to my slide. So again, it's a question of balance. Of course, companies know a lot about the market. They know a lot about products. They know a lot about their competitors, but they may not know everything. So they need to go out and look for that information. So understanding customers' needs and wants, the competitive situation, and the nature of the market. These are extremely important. Don't just rely on your own knowledge, on your own instant knowledge at this point in time. Go out and do a bit of research. Take a little extra time to produce high quality market analysis. Go out and talk to your users or your potential users. Okay? Sometimes market research is not done or is done too late. The company decides to put out a product and then they go and find whether they have an audience or not. Okay? So we normally say that innovation begins with an I, but also the letter I. Okay? It always begins with an I. Look out for what's out there. Okay? So customer inputs, testing concepts. Okay? Spiral development. You start by understanding what your customers want. You start prototyping some solutions. You go back to your customers, to probably a set of potential users, ask them what they think, go back, prototype again, go back to your users, ask what they want, go back, spiral development. Okay? Having said that, there are some authors that think differently from this, and they say that design-driven innovations do not come from the market, they create new markets. This is also true. Okay, that's what Nuria was saying. Okay, examples of these are here. Before we had the iPod, who would ever ask for an iPod? If you go to your users and you ask them, so how would you like to listen to your music in the future? They would probably say a cassette player that is smaller, or I don't know, those big bricks that people used to take to the beach. If you can make this smaller, that would be wonderful. But no one would ever tell you, I would want an iPod, or I would want a product that is this big and can download from the internet and play music for me whenever I want, wherever I want. So sometimes if you ask your users, they will probably give you incremental innovations, not radical new ways of doing things. Okay? There's an interesting saying from Henry Ford, from Ford Motor Company, the founder. If I had asked, he was put on record, although there is no record of it, of saying, if I had asked my customers what they would want, they would have said a faster horse, never a car. Okay? Anyway, let's move on. Question number 3. Let me move on to question number 3. New products are developed because of a flash of the moment from a senior designer at the company. Is this true or is this false? Do all new ideas come from a flash of the moment from a senior designer in the company? What do you think? Yeah, I think we're unanimous on this one. So why do senior designers exist? What are they for? Do they have a role to play in the company? Of course they have. But their role is not to come out with a flash of the moment idea and a light bulb lighting up on top of your head. That's not how it works. Okay? There's a lot of homework that needs to be done before a good idea comes up. Okay, let's come back to the slides. So this is false in general. You got it right, naturally. So successful companies spend a lot of time, about twice the amount of time and money, in some vital upfront activities. And we've talked about this previously, okay? Initial screening, preliminary market assessment, preliminary technical assessment, a detailed market study, voice of the customer research, going to your customer base, asking what they think, what they would, how would they improve, what they like, what they dislike, what would they change in products they have right now, and business and financial analysis before the decision of go to development. Not all of the ideas that we have as a company go into the market. Some ideas stop midway through because they don't have the potential to become successes. Why develop something that will not be a success, or at least is expected not to be a success? So there's a lot of homework that needs to be done before an idea is developed into a product. And this is about information. Okay, you need information. What information do you need? All of this information. And then you need to interpret that information. It's not just information. It's information and interpretation. You need it, but then you need to interpret that information somehow. And the difficult thing is not in obtaining information, is to interpret information. How do we make sense of the information that we have? What do we do with it? Okay. Another question. Question number 4. Flexibility in product definition is important. And things change, and the team needs to adapt. Is this true? The team means the product design team, the product development team, the people that are involved in designing or developing new products. Okay, what do you think? Flexibility in problem definition is important. Things change, and the team needs to adapt. Is this true? Is this false? Is this somewhere in between? Nuria says it's true.
Yeah, because I can't do it either. So, but no worries.
Oh, that's fine. So most of you say yes. And in general, yes. But don't take it to the extreme. Okay? Again, it's a question of balance. Because if your definition is not set or it does not stop changing, you will never converge to something that can go into the market. Okay? So, oops, let me change my slides again. Okay, so a lot of companies suffer from this, and it's something that is seen everywhere. And I'll give you some examples of it. Project scope creep and unstable specifications. This happens every time. Scope creep is the definition of the project constantly changes. What do we want with this product? And unstable specs is product requirement and specifications change throughout the development stage. How long does it take to develop a new product? Any ideas? This is not a question in the file. What? If we're designing a screwdriver, or if we're designing a new civil aircraft, how long does it take? Of course, it doesn't take the same time, right? The screwdriver is a very simple product. An aircraft is a very big product, very complex product. One might take 1 or 2 years to develop. The other might take 3 or 4 years to develop. But it's not like to develop a new screwdriver, you're going to take 1 week. No way. because there's a lot that needs to be done to design a new screwdriver. If it has a plastic handle, you will have to design all of the manufacturing process for that plastic handle. If it has a new ergonomics, if it has different functions, it's not, I mean, it's simpler than an aircraft. But then again, you don't have a team of 200 engineers developing the new screwdriver, okay? So there's a lot of resources that go into it that either reduce or extend the time that you need to develop something new. So these things take time to develop. And as we develop them, things might change. And that's where the scope creep and the unstable specs come from. Of course, you need to be flexible, but up to a certain point. And for really, really complex problems, like, for instance, developing a new aircraft engine, okay? And this is a work that our group has done for a major aircraft engine company based in the UK. I'm not going to tell you the name, but it's based in the UK. And if you go to the papers, it is there, so it's not a secret. You would think, okay, so an aircraft engine is something that is an important thing, and it is all specified right from the start. Wrong. It is specified at the beginning, but these specifications change over time. And there are two sources of specification change. One is internal, the other is external. The external is the clients for this engine will be changing their specifications over time because their own aircraft specification changes over time. Hence, the engine specifications change over time. The other one is internal, and it has to do with the process of designing the product. Because there's a process of going from system to subsystem to component, and how many layers you have. I mean, I've just put on 3, but there's more, okay? So you start with a layout of the product, then you go into more detail and more detail and more detail. And as you go from level 1 to level 2 to level 3, you realize that what you've decided at level 1 cannot be done at level 2, or it cannot be done at level 3. So you need to go back to level 1 and change the specifications. That's where the internal changes come from, okay? So they both compete to kind of hinder the development. And when these changes are very, very frequent, the team cannot converge to a final design. And we've managed to show to the company that if they allow changes to happen more frequently than once every 3 weeks, they will have to extend the time they take to develop a new product, okay? So this was done through simulation, obviously. But after going into the company, understanding how teams work with each other, how do they work with each other, how do they flow down the specifications from one team to the next, to the next, to the next, okay? This can be simulated. So what you decide at the front can mean the world. If you get your specifications wrong, of course, you'll be nowhere, and you'll have a hard time getting out of this spot. But you need to start somewhere. So it is better to have some specifications at the beginning that will not change, while others will have a kind of a leeway that you can play with, okay? So there are some specifications that are really, really important. You cannot touch those, and others you can potentially vary depending on how your market evolves, how your customers change opinion with time. So sharp, early, and stable project and product definition as much as possible, okay? Be flexible, but do not be too flexible. Otherwise, you will not converge again, okay? Do remember the difference between benefits and attributes, because I'm speaking from an engineering perspective. I'm an engineer, so I sometimes fall back to my engineering mindset. As an engineer, I love attributes. I want to put as much stuff in my product as possible, okay? But they may not necessarily be benefits. If it doesn't benefit my user, it makes me happy, but it doesn't make the user happy, okay? So always be mindful of this difference between benefits and attributes. Okay, another question. Let's move on. The product launch is dealt with when the time comes later in the development process. Is this true or is this false? The product launch is dealt with when the time comes later in the product development process. It's not enough to produce new products. We have to launch them. We have to make the market aware that they exist. When should we do this? Okay, still waiting for a few more to answer. Okay, more than half have answered. Let's look at the results. 50-50. I like this one. 50-50. What does this mean? That we are not really sure as a community of whether this should be the case or not. Okay, let's go back to our presentation. So from the audience, it's around 50-50. So what should we do? Of course, there's a balance, but never ever assume that good products sell themselves. It never happens. There's a lot of good products out there that never sell. Why is this? Perhaps because people are not aware of that. Perhaps because they are launched in an inadequate way. Perhaps people are not aware of what are the benefits that the product would provide them. Okay? So a well-integrated and properly targeted launch is the thing to do. And there's a person that used to do this very, very well. This guy. This guy used to launch products very well. And there was a time of year that Apple would come to their user base and they would present their new line of products. And it was a moment that was awaited by everyone. So this is a well-thought process, something that is done meticulously, and there's a lot of thought put into it. Of course, not all products need to do this, but you need to think carefully about how to launch your product. How do you know what your users want, and how do you put that in the launch? This will perform this for you. And why do I say this during the launch? Because I know that 90% of my clients not like this feature or like this benefit. So I would convey this message during the launch, okay? So question number 6, each task in the process must be performed at the highest level of quality. Is this true or is this false? Each task in the process must be performed at the highest level of quality. What do you think? The questions are obviously ambiguous. The direct questions provide direct answers, but they don't teach you much. Okay? Let's see the results. Haha! Exactly 50-50. This is surprising. So what does this tell us? It probably tells us that yes, for some of the tasks, not necessarily for others. Not all the tasks are as important as others. Some tasks are more important than others, right? So let's go back. So, of course, in principle, we should do everything with a certain level of quality, not necessarily with the highest level of quality. teams are typically under-resourced, okay? Either they would need more time, or they would need more money, or they would need more person power, not manpower, not woman power, or they would need more support from the company in any way. So under-resourcing projects is a source of not putting up the effort or the quality, if you want, to the tasks that need to be done with some quality. But the important tasks are important. What are the important tasks? Perhaps some of those that I presented previously, but there are others as well, okay? And in a survey that was done in a number of companies a few years ago, where all of these stages were surveyed in companies, and companies responded to this survey stating how much would they put a lot of effort in any of these stages. And consistently, the companies that say they put a lot of effort, for instance, in idea generation, in initial idea screening, preliminary market assessment, and so on and so forth, all of the companies that say they put extra effort in these stages consistently perform better than others. So there are tasks that are crucial, that are critical, and you need to pay attention to those, not so much to the others. Last question of the day. Each task must be completed as quickly as possible. What do you think? Each task must be completed as quickly as possible. I think this is an easy one. Okay, 11 have responded. Let's not influence the others that have not responded by showing the results, but I'll show it anyway. Not 50-50, but there's a balance there. Why is there a balance there? Of course, you don't sit, if the task is done, release it, let the development go on. But you should not speed. Let me go back to my slides. Speed is not the absolute most important factor, okay? But speed is important, but not at the expense of quality. Don't speed things up because you need to push it through. Take your time, but don't also sit on your task without doing anything, okay? The first on the market faces less likelihood of changing market competition, okay? So if you're first to the market, your competition will take time to arrive to the market, hopefully, not necessarily, okay? Some will be very, very quick to the market. It is amazing how much time companies that copy your products are able to put products in the market. Sometimes it's weeks, okay? They will put on a almost exact copy of your product in the market in a few weeks' time. How can they do that? They didn't take the time to design it. They just took it apart, copied every single part, put it back again, managed to do it at a reduced cost, therefore managed to price it lower than you, and they compete with you, okay? What's the catch then? Why should we put new products in the market? If everyone is going to copy us, why should we do it? We should do it in a way that allows us to evolve that product very, very quickly. If you put in specific ways in your design in which you can, for instance, produce a family of products, and you launch a product in the market, there are some features inside that are hidden. They probably don't produce anything as a function in the real final product, but they enable you to produce the next version much, much cheaper. and your competitors will not know that. That's one way of doing it. Again, the objective is always a successful product, not a series of fast failures in the market. We sometimes hear fail fast. Fail fast during the development stage, not when you're in the market. You don't want to fail in the market. You want to fail while you're designing. Failing meaning that you don't necessarily fail, you learn and you do it better for the next iteration. Okay? So some principles project teams embrace to reduce time to market. Again, get an early stable product and project definition. Build in quality of execution at every important stage of the project. So have the right people doing the right things. And effective cross-functional teams. So teams that have more than one expertise to avoid sequential product development and enable concurrent product development. Don't do it in sequential phases. Do it in parallel, not in sequence. Okay? There was a person from a automobile company in the US that said, rip apart a badly developed project and you will unfailingly find 75% of slippage meaning delays in product launch, attributable to siloing for decisions and sequential problem solving. Siloing means I am responsible for powertrain, engine and transmission, okay? So my decisions will only affect powertrain. Wrong. My decisions affect the entire product. I am responsible of electronics in the car. So my decisions will only affect electronics. Wrong. It affects everything. Everything is electrical now in your cars, even if the engine is not. Okay? So siloing has to do with that. Siloing means that decisions are done internally to one team and perceived as not to affect the other teams. All of these decisions have to do with other teams as well. So if you have cross-functionality in your teams, these things will go away because my decision will all immediately be replied or contested by the other guy next to me. Okay? So use parallel processing, or as we used to say 20 years ago, concurrent engineering. Spiral development, build, test, build, test, build, test. The prototype, the first prototype is not the last thing you do in the development. You should continuously prototype and test. That's how you get the things that need to be improved. Okay? If you only prototype in the end, you will waste time. You will not gain time. You will waste time because your prototype will never be perfect, ever. Prioritize and focus, do fewer projects, but higher value ones. So I will not go into that. That would give us another masterclass. So I will not go into that. So to everything, there is a season. This has to do with thinking and doing. Sometimes we just do, and don't think. And other times we think, and don't do. You think and do. And when you do, you think about what you've done, and you do it again. Thinking and doing, okay? It's extremely important. So, in summary, and we're getting to the end of my talk, some of the most critical success factors are, and these are the questions that we've answered during the class, striving for unique, superior products, a strong market orientation, doing the homework, sharp, early, and stable project and product definition, planning and resourcing the launch, quality of execution of key tasks, and speed. And these would be likely the critical success factors for new product design and development. And I would end with a quote by a person that you may or may not like, but I think the quote is important. The plan may be worthless, but planning is essential. If you don't plan, you don't know whether you're late or early. Okay? It really doesn't matter whether you follow the plan or not, but you really need to have a plan to know where you are, to know where you can improve. And the next time you produce a plan, it will be better. And again, iteratively, you will get to good plans and you will be able to meet the plan the first time you do it. Okay? Again, planning may be worthless, but planning is essential. I will leave you with some references. This is going to be on video, so you can always go back. That's not for you to read. But if you need to know more about these things, you may go into some of these references and know a bit more. And I would like to thank you for your attention. And I'm open to any questions that come from either here or elsewhere. So thank you. Not sure if there are questions from other places.
It could be questions for other places. At this moment, is congratulations.
Okay, thank you.
And everything is okay, perfect, and so on. So, any question here in the room? ¿Tenéis alguna pregunta?
In English, has to be.
English, Castellano.
Rames. Okay, I'm Rames Forcadell. Now I'm studying design. Yeah, here. And the other day we were talking about topic. Yeah, that was very interesting for us, for the students. And I would like to know, as an experienced person, your opinion. Yeah. And so was we now end studying this career, and then maybe we have to do a master. Yeah. But with the teacher, we have been talking about this topic, and he told us something like, before doing the master, maybe we should like have some experience in work to know what we like. I would like to know your opinion about this, if it is it would be a great idea or not, or first do the master and then I will decide what to work, or what will be the best process, yeah, to follow.
Okay. Again, you're asking for my opinion. I will give you my opinion, but it's just an opinion. Okay. If you ask someone else, they will probably give you another answer. So I think that if you are not looking for an academic career, you may want to get some experience and then come back and do your master's. However, if you're thinking of an academic career and there's a topic that you would really, really like to research on, go straight into the master's. Okay? Now, is this true for everyone? I'm not really sure. That would be my own personal opinion. I direct a master program in Singapore that takes in students that are fresh graduates, but also students that have spent 10, 15, 20 years in industry and then come back to do a master's in a topic that's not their previous topic. So I've had people coming from banks, from insurance companies, from design companies coming back into university, taking a master's of innovation by design. This has nothing to do with what they do, but they realize that they need to change something in their careers. So they come back to school, okay? So in that setting where you have a master's that has this different pool of people coming together and working together, there's a lot that you can gain from that. So instead of going out, doing some work, and then coming back into the master's, if you know for sure that there's a master's that takes in all of these different people, that's another way of getting experience from others by working with others on specific projects and so on and so forth. So that would be my confusing response to your question.
I agree absolutely with him. So sometimes it's a good idea to take the real life experience and then come back to study again. because at that moment studying is perfect. Study's time is perfect. But when you are studying and then you continue in the school, is oh my God, studying again. But when you are working, say, oh my God, I'm come back to school again, and then it's perfect.
I actually did something completely the reverse.
Yeah, but I agree with him that is.
So
Is a nice
I took my
opportunity.
bachelor's, then I went straight into my master's, and I did my PhD sequentially. And then this was in when I finished my PhD. This was 2001, so 20 years ago. And in 2012, I decided I need something different. So I went and worked for a company. And then okay, this doesn't feel right. Let's go back to academia. And I came back to academia.
You
So
come back to school.
yeah,
And you are
so
happy again.
there's so many paths.
Yeah. Any question? Are you maybe considering to spend a few time in a period in Singapore? He is really happy. I'm following him in Facebook, and he's really happy.
The food is amazing.
Yeah. It's nice.
Anyway, if you have other questions and you don't want to put it up here, just send me an email. I'll be happy to respond. But we have scholarships in Singapore.
Yeah, maybe.
So get in touch. You never know.
It's always warm. There's a lot of fruit. The color.
How did you apply in Singapore?
Sorry?
How did you apply in Singapore?
I did not. They picked me up.
Yep. But now you have the opportunity for contact him for applying.
You know the movie The Godfather? They made me an offer I could not refuse.
Yep.
Yes, we have a question.
Yep. Sorry.
So we are currently studying like first year university, like we are also in design, but like, would you recommend like during university years, should we do something related to this, or should we wait until we graduate and then do something?
Never wait. Waiting is a waste of time.
But like,
Never
for example, I don't really, if I kind of want to maybe like getting work experience during my university years, but at the same time, it's like I don't have the knowledge or enough experience to like actually work at a company, you know.
One knows everything. If anyone tells you they know everything, run away from that person. That person is dangerous. Okay? No one knows everything. In Singapore, during our bachelor degrees runs for 4.5 years, and we have specific times during those 4.5 years in which we encourage students to go and work for companies, do internships. They have 2 internship opportunities, and we provide these internship opportunities to our students. So they do have some form of experience during their bachelor's. I'm not sure if that is the case here, but let's face it, you have a lot of free time during summer, okay? That's probably something that you can consider doing, applying for an internship somewhere in a company that you feel you could learn from and you could contribute to. So that would be my opinion.
Like, I don't really have, I didn't do any research about this because we are like just in first year, and I think that this is like far away.
It's not. Yeah. Time flies.
I know. But how do you actually know like where should you go? Like just by intuition, like whatever you want, or is there like some fields?
What do you like to do? If you know what you like to do, look for companies that do stuff similar to what you like to do. If you don't know, just send your resume to a gazillion number of companies. If you send to 100, probably 2 or 3 will respond to you. That's how life is.
Yeah.
You're not the only one looking for internships. There's a lot more doing that. So you need to send a lot of resumes.
And would you recommend, like, for engineering or design students, something like maybe some companies that you really look up for? Or
Yeah, I don't know. Do I get some money out of it? No, I don't.
no.
But there are always, what I would suggest, actually, that's a very good question. What I would suggest is, if you're a design student and you're not really sure what you want to do, try and get an internship in a company that has nothing to do with design. And if it's the reverse, if you're an engineering student, try to get an internship into a company that doesn't necessarily produce anything physically. Go and get an internship in a software company, for instance, or go and get an internship in a design company that does not have its own manufacturing facility, to see how people think differently. Because there's a lot of details, a lot of aspects that you are not aware in university, because you don't need that to do your exams, right? To do your projects, to do to get your bachelor done, right? But there's a lot that you can learn from other people that don't necessarily have the same background as you. Again, a confusing reply.
That you can realize you can be very useful for that company.
And
Yeah,
also-
absolutely. Because in a design company will be full of designers. But they don't have that many engineers, perhaps. And the reverse is also true. Okay, so they can learn from you.
She would be the only one.
Yeah, exactly.
So
we don't we're still studying, so we don't really have much experience neither.
You will never have
I know.
all the experience that your boss would want from you.
So
That comes with time.
so also, like, for university students, there are like many summer camps, and I don't know. Would you say that summer camps are better than placement and internships are better than summer camps or studying?
Summer camps sound like
N-
fun.
But not exactly. Like, some are like research oriented and stuff like that, like studying summer camps.
I
But
would say
those
that's
are
better.
mostly like what you do in high school. But there are some that are like for adults, like university students or degree students.
Of course, that's better than not doing anything.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
I would suggest a real internship.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
thank you very much. Any question? And you? And you, my students, have you any questions? Okay. I have a sorry, from YouTube, José Gámez, from Castellón. José Gámez Besets, t'enviem besets. He's asking, how is the best approach to introduce new materials into a design? Thanks.
A materials question. Thank you, Jose.
Of course.
There's no easy way of doing that. So when I was teaching first-year students back in Singapore, we had a very interesting setting of students. So in my university, all of the students, regardless of what major they're going to take, they can become engineers of different flavors or architects. But the first year is the same for everyone. So all architects, all engineers take the same courses. And we had a course there that's Introduction to Design. So in Introduction to Design, of course, you would not expect a student coming into a first-year course in Introduction to Design to know mechanics of materials, material science, chemistry, physics. They are taking that as they go. They don't have all of that knowledge. You would think that design requires all of this knowledge, and it should be in the last year of the bachelor's. No, we did it on the first year. Okay, and on that first year, we presented materials, not from a material science perspective, but from a material selection perspective. How do I know what material to use in this application? So let's not think about materials, let's think about functions. What does this need to do? it needs to be this, it needs to do this, it needs to provide that. Okay, so what materials are out there that do this? Okay, let's go and find out. That's the appropriate material. Do I know what is the phase diagram of this steel? I don't. Do I have to? Not necessarily now, perhaps in the future. So when do we teach materials? As soon as possible. As soon as possible, because if we are going to produce physical stuff, we need physical stuff. And materials is that stuff. We need materials. We need to understand how they behave.
The best design could be a big fail if the material selection is wrong.
Exactly.
This-
So
this is
materials
the
as soon
story
as
of
possible.
life.
Materials as soon as possible, I would
Yep.
say.
So any other question? Arlindo, do you know the story of Invisible? You know what's Invisible? Invisible is let's say, for putting the hair in this way,
Uh-huh.
un coletero.
Sí, sí.
The woman who invented this, the woman who invented Invisible, she was, after a party, she was drunk, and she needed to put the hair for sleeping, and she was drunk, and she didn't find the correct piece, and she touched the phone charger
Mhm.
wire, and
Okay.
he used it. And then in the morning, he said, "Oh my God, no pain and no marks." And then she thought, this is an idea. She bought some pieces of charger, of wire,
Mhm.
and she designed a new element. Now, this enterprise is 20 million euros per year. So sometimes the crazy idea with a good design and a good thinking and the correct material selection could be the best
Yeah,
option.
yeah, absolutely.
Did you know the story of Invisible? That's true, eh? That's a true story.
And it's a woman entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So
So I'm checking for the last question, maybe. Jose Gam say gracias, and there is two message. There are two message. I don't know exactly what, because I suppose there are your colleagues from Singapore.
yeah, Michael Ong. Michael Ong is one of my PhD students.
Yeah.
But
Hi,
he's
Michael Ong.
but Michael, you wrote in Chinese, so
Yeah.
there's no way we're gonna be able to read that.
We suppose it's congrats, teacher.
And I don't know who that is.
Okay.
Yongfeng is also one of my
Okay.
my students.
Salutaciones. Then, if there is no more questions, so Arlindo, thank you very much
Thank you.
for your inspirational talk and for your answers, for your knowledge, and for sharing this with all of us. So, and you, thank you very much for coming and for
Thank you all.
attending this conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And if you need to get in touch, just send me an email. Okay? Thank you.